to it.
Record. I just did a record to cloud.
Cool. Not that you have to start recording now, but
Oh, we're
make sure.
recording. Mind your P's and Q's.
My Q's and P's have been minded.
Yep. Joel and Blair are going to go back and review this tomorrow. Make sure that we were all
Perfect.
behaving. So you're not able to tell how many folks are waiting. Did you do anything on the grill today?
Hamburgers and hot dogs. Just finished eating.
Nice.
You?
I've got chicken on the grill right now, just on low, staying warm until this is done.
The non-charcoal grill, I assume.
On the gas grill, yeah.
Okay. Because I was going to say, if you have a way of making charcoal go low, medium, high, you need to teach me that wizardry.
I have gotten much better with the vents on the Weber, I have to admit. Yeah. Get those things where they're just barely open.
Yeah.
And it'll keep the temperature down pretty good. All right, I'm going to start broadcasting. Hello, Bill Uhas.
Somebody put Bill in the corner.
Hey.
Did you get in trouble? Did Sarah yell at you? You in the corner? Did you get in trouble?
I
Just
did.
you're in the corner there.
I'm right in the front. It's right near the best point of Wi-Fi in
Yeah.
the house.
Hold on 1 second.
Teach you about fighting pandemics. What were the lessons? There were lessons about protected equipment, such as
Hey, Joel.
And we're live, Joel. Go. No, I'm just kidding. Like a church.
Don't do that to me. Funny boy.
Yep.
So we got a few folks trickling in. Give it a few more minutes before we get started.
Probably like 3 or so, since it's not even 6:30 yet.
Bill's hair looks fantastic.
Back alley haircut.
No, he got that.
He got that legit.
legitimately.
Yeah.
He did. He did.
I got it legal before I had to go to some back alley place.
Good work.
So appreciate everybody joining. That was prompt, like Mr. Laris and Mr. Del Mol, along with their families, I'm assuming. We're going to wait just a few more minutes here to make sure everybody has no issues finding leaks and logging in and getting audio adjustments made and things of that nature. Hello, Superman.
Hey, this is Blair joining.
Hey, Blair.
Sorry,
I was waiting.
I thought I saw you walk out of a phone booth before you hopped on. I'm sorry.
I was waiting for him to reply. I was waiting for him to answer. I'm going to say, see, you do know it's you.
I thought I could just remain silent, but I thought I'll just leave it alone.
What?
I think there's a Welkner that's also getting married right now.
6 o'clock.
So we're right at 6:30 right now. I see 27 attendees that have joined along with 6 or 7 of us. So I want to give that just a couple more minutes, see if there's any more that trickle in, then we'll get started. All right, well, let's go ahead and get going here. I see 34, now 35 people in there. So appreciate everybody joining in tonight or this afternoon for the, I don't recall the time that before that we had done a remote Zoom meeting shepherding session. So appreciate you guys calling in. I imagine this will be included in shepherding sessions moving forward, but looking forward to sharing a little information with you guys tonight about what has been done the last 6 or 12 months and some things that are on the roadmap ahead, including the spending plan and seeing how taking a poll in a Zoom meeting goes for collecting that vote. So before we get started, I might put one of our pastors here on the spot and see if they'll open us in prayer. So Blair Abbott, would you mind doing that for us?
I can do that. Let's pray.
All right, thank you, sir.
Heavenly Father, I thank you for the meeting. I thank you for the opportunity to get together, even though it's a remote kind of thing for us right now. Pray that you would continue to guide and direct our steps as we seek to be your church in our community. And I pray that this evening would be pleasing in your sight. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. All right, so to get us going here, Joel is going to start us off with sharing some victories in the last few months or so. So I'm going to turn it over to him briefly. Once we're done with that, we are going to move on to the spending plan, and we'll let Blair run that portion of the presentation tonight, and then from there you guys get to listen to me ramble on a little bit, go over the slate of elders that we have, some of the things that we've been doing from a board level, some process and policies that we have put into place, and then I think that we as a board are what we are most excited about are those open questions, right? So we talked about this at the last shepherding session. Had the opportunity to meet, I know not with everybody, but with several, or I'd say even most of the body and most of the life groups. And we took those conversations, and I think did a good job of turning that into some tangible output. So we'll end the shepherding session tonight with that piece. For the spending plan, like I said, we are going to prompt a poll to approve that once that gets going. But for right now, Joel, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Thanks everyone for joining tonight. I want to start by going back a little bit. In 2018, we introduced to the church what we were calling our 2020 vision. And I had planned, about 2 months ago, maybe a month and a half, of giving an update on where we were at with our 2020 vision. You know, I had people asking the question, hey, what happened? Are we still on that thing? Did we lose focus? Did we forget about it? Are we on to something else? And I thought, well, it's time to catch up a little bit. What most people remember about the 2020 vision were the five big items that we threw out there. Buy a home next, the house next to our church property and develop it into a ministry center. Partner with our ministry in the Dominican Republic to build a building, a ministry center there. Establish a church plant out of Grace. Construct a multi-purpose building on our property to give us some more flexibility in how we can use our space. And then the last one was to pay down and or eliminate our mortgage. Now, those are pretty big things, and we didn't accomplish any of them, but none of them were on tap to be accomplished in that short a time. Those are long-range goals, visionary goals that we knew would take years to accomplish. What we wanted to do in throwing them out there is give the body some tangible things that we were striving for in our future. But what we did accomplish, which is more practical to our 2020 vision, were the things that we're working through right now, and really what I want to share about the victories that we've established or gained in this time. We're continuing to bring clarity to our mission and vision. That's always been a big issue for us. What are we doing as a church? Who are we? What is our mission? What is our vision? And we're continuing to put that before the people. Part of the open question discussion builds that out further so that the people are involved in the discussion about our mission and vision. Rick's going to talk a little bit more about that and what we've gained. And it's been a big victory for us to connect with the body in that way and hear from many people that we normally don't get to hear from, and really take a good pulse of the church itself. So that's been an exciting thing for us. Secondly, we're continuing to follow what I believe is the command that Jesus has given us for ministry in this world, and that's to make disciples. All of our ministry ends, or our vision plan for what we want to accomplish in ministry, moves us towards making disciples. That's our number one goal. So we continue to align our ministries to do that, and that's moving along pretty well. The third part of that 2020 vision was to rework our church governmental structures in order to facilitate change and increase efficiency. I believe Rick's going to talk a little bit more about that as well when he talks about governance. But we really are setting up the church to accomplish more things by streamlining the government of the church, so that we can get things done and better use our pastors and better use our elders in all the things that we want to do. So we're moving ahead with all of that. And there are some great victories that have come out of these things. One that we got started on and then got sidetracked is our Day to Make a Difference. A number of people were at the Grace Bridge event. Hey, some great pictures. Yeah, there they are. We were the largest group that they had ever had out at one time. And it was just phenomenal to see y'all working together. And it was a little bit overwhelming for them. But what we learned is we can do these things. Next time, we'll probably break them down into smaller groups. But we want to continue to build on that and have more community-focused service projects where we can give our people an opportunity to get out there and do things. Of course, the pandemic has challenged us to think creatively in ministry without a building. And some of our greatest things have been in our drive-through outreaches, partnering with the preschool in the things that they're doing. Hundreds of packs were mailed out or were handed out. Activity packs, games, class lessons, all those things. Some of the pictures you're looking at right now are from our drive-through donut day. It was fun. We had 2 lines of people coming through, handed out almost 500 donuts that day, and just connected with our community in a neat way. It shows us one of the things we can do to make our presence known in the community. We did an Awana Awards ceremony in the parking lot. Some of you were part of that. We did our gym graduation in the parking lot. One of the things that I don't think we have a picture of, but just outside the front door is a box for Allen Community Outreach drop-off goods. People can drop food and stuff in there. I think, Randy, you're still picking that stuff up, aren't you? It just seems like it's so often I come to church in the morning, I look over there and that box is full. People are putting stuff in that box, and thank you, Randy, for picking it up. But it's just provided a convenient place where people can drive through, put stuff in there, and we can support Allen Community Outreach like that. So that's given us a new aspect of ministry. Of course, we've also showed you some video of the Warners and their door drop ministry, and some others of you, I think, have participated with that. So neat thing to do there to make a touch in our community. One of the greatest victories, I think, was our conversion to online worship and online youth ministries, adult classes as well. It's been a labor of love, and I'm going to ask Bill to talk a little bit about what went into that and what we think we've accomplished as a victory now that we've gotten this far. So Bill, run with that a little bit.
Sure, I'll be more than happy to. March 15th, we started with an iPhone, essentially, and went from there. We hit the ground running with figuring things out. Every week, someone would hand us. It felt like we were being handed a Rubik's Cube that I would look at Randy and go, "Help me figure this thing out." And then we'd figure it out, and someone said, "Okay, wait, now we can't use that one next week," and so we'd have to keep figuring it out every week. But man, we grew in a very short time, but that's all due to an amazing team. Randy, Michael Stevens, David Keeperose, Teresa was helping out. We had, I know I'm already forgetting people, Robert, who was there consistently. I mean, literally, these guys have been there every single week, Wednesday and Sunday, without fail, to make sure that this is done to the best of our ability so that you could have an experience out there that is as close to being there as possible. From there, once we got things set up, we started working towards creating video content for kids and for youth. And so we've been working with Danielle Edwards, who's been helping us out there quite a bit, has done a phenomenal job, as well as creating those stories of grace. We can't get people up on, in front of you physically. So these stories have really been a great way for us to continue to share what God's doing in the lives of the families at Grace Church. And then the last 2 weeks, we upgraded our system so that we wouldn't have as many glitches, lighting issues. It's amazing how many little elements are here when it comes to this stuff, that lighting plays such a huge factor, and sound, which we're still working on. As we made the upgrade to now, I'll use the term professional switcher, that allows us to use many different camera angles, again, giving you more of a feel of you being there. All that stuff, the new switcher has brought us back a little bit with sound stuff, and so we really appreciate your patience with that. But I can't express enough the team that came out of nowhere to develop this. So I was just a guy who had a camera and a hope, and we had an amazing team that jumped around and said, "We can do this." And so they all banded together. So more credit to them than even just myself. But I would say in the midst of that, we have just come together to, and if I'll be bold enough to say, go miles ahead of where other churches are right now because of the willingness of these guys who came together and said, "Let's try and make something happen." And so, so it's been quite a journey. We're still learning. And I say we're kind of failing forward as we trip on ourselves. But each week we're striving to do it to the best of our ability. And so it's been a great ride, and I'm glad that we have the opportunity that we do for you guys continuing to give and allowing us to purchase the things that we need, that you might go, "Why are we getting this?" And we're like, so that you can see clearly and we don't shine like bright angels up there. We really want you to have an opportunity to really see this to the clarity that we can bring to you guys. So.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Yeah, it's a work in progress, but it's going to keep going, and we're going to keep using this even when hopefully things are back and we're all in our regular worship routine again, because it does give us an opportunity to reach a number of people that we normally wouldn't. Great example of this is baptism this morning. Lynn Wright was baptized, and we celebrated that, and she was sharing afterwards with others that she had relatives or family here and there watching and just saying, hey, they couldn't have seen that otherwise. Cindy Orshansky, who plays the bass for us, shared a while back that she had a relative that normally, wouldn't be in church or what we watch, but she watches because Cindy plays. Hey, isn't that cool? That wouldn't happen otherwise. So we're going to continue to, use that as an avenue to reach people with the gospel, even when we're back in our regular routine again. I did mention baptisms. It was great to share the victory of a number of baptisms this spring. The one this morning, I think we got a couple more coming up in the next couple of weeks that we will show as well on YouTube. And unless you're there live, you'll see it. So good things like that are happening. The Hope is Stronger campaign, kind of a thing that popped up. I don't want to say out of nowhere, but the Lord just gave us that one, and we've been sharing that phrase, printed some signs that people have put in the yards. We're almost out of the signs now, so thank you for taking those and putting them in front of your houses. Great victory really has been giving and the generosity of people and their faithfulness in giving. Blair can talk about that in just a little bit, but I'll just add my 2 cents worth to say thank you for giving. We aren't flush in that we've got more income coming in than what we know what to do with, but God has been very gracious in moving among you to release those funds to continue ministry, and we believe that we're continuing to be effective in using all of those things. So good things are happening. I've really enjoyed the last couple of weeks being back in the building. I know Bill has too, as he's led worship, right? Just to see people there and to sing together and to share that time together. So I'm hoping that we continue strong in that routine as we build. Things are going well Sunday morning. We look forward to meeting together again for that. I don't know if things are ever going to be totally the same the way they were, and that can be a good thing too. One of the greatest lessons, and I've got a whole list of lessons that I'm learning, is just that we need to work harder on being a church, not as dependent upon a building to do ministry, but upon people being Jesus in their situation, whatever that might be. To a neighbor, to a friend, to someone who's lost and lonely. That's where the real victory comes in, when we are Jesus to them. So we're going to continue to do that. I hope that in these next few weeks, some more of you come out as the Lord would give you comfort in that. And again, don't take any chances. If you shouldn't be out, don't get out. But we are creating an environment where, to the best of our ability, you can be safe in there. And we're going to move this ahead into the summer and see some great things that are going to happen during the summer months as well. So Rick, take it from there and do our next section.
No, absolutely. Thank you. And sorry about that, Bill. While Joel was talking, I think you were on the screen there, just kind of awkwardly looking awesome. So Joel's voice was talking, but Bill's face stayed on the screen. So sorry about that, Bill. I'm trying to work through this, my first time doing it. But I would say that there's a few other things in here. Obviously, the youth continue to do their thing. Fortunately, we were able to get in that Valentine's banquet before the lockdown took effect. That's always a great time. And I think there's some pictures in here from the Christmas event they had as well. So appreciate, Wes, everything that you're doing with the youth and the continued traction that you're seeing there. Next will be Blair. And before I turn it over to him, again, appreciate you guys' grace as I fumble my way through this. But please, if you have any questions, chat those over to us. We will do our best to address them. But after Blair goes through after Blair goes through and talks to the spending plan a little bit, we will push a poll out in the Zoom meeting and get you guys to vote on approving that. So just wanted to talk about that for a minute before we turn it over to Blair. So it's all yours, Blair.
Okay. Hopefully everyone saw the email, the e-blast that went out, I think it was on Thursday, with the plan for next year. Got a couple things I just want to go over, and then Rick, I'm assuming that the board is making the official recommendation that we're going to accept that. And then, you know, I don't know how you're going to figure out who's seconding that, but you know, that's part of the whole voting thing here. But as we develop the spending plan, or Rick, maybe I need to let you answer that question.
Well, if I could get a board member to make a motion to vote on the, well, I guess we'll let you talk through the spending plan first, and then we will take a motion at that point.
Okay, sounds good. So this first slide we have here talks about the way we've done the spending plan, or the proposed spending plan over the last couple of years, is to have some items that we identify as essential items and other things that are vision in our spending plan. And just give you a couple examples here of what each of those would be as we are proposing salaries for the year. You'll see there's an existing and a vision piece. The existing salaries are what we consider essential, just maintaining what we've had in the past. And then vision would include any raises or, you know, as we try to plan for the future and be intentional, we will put some additional staff positions in there based on what needs might come up. And so those are the two different kind of line items. You see, we have contractual obligations. These are things where we are on the hook to pay bills every month, just like you are at home. So those types of things fall under the essential, you know, be it making our insurance payments, the utilities we pay, software licenses, all those types of things where someone's providing a service and we're going to make sure that they get reimbursed for that service that they're providing us. Visionary. Our facility refurbishment, last year we put 50 grand into that. This year we're doing the same thing. Just so we've got that in front of us. If there are things we need to upgrade in the facility, we want to have that in our spending plan. I put on there new phone equipment. Those are some of the things that we'll try and get as the Lord provides through the body. Rick, if you can flip back to that last screen, I won't go through the other two things there under essential and vision, but that note there, just to make sure everyone understands, as we manage the spending plan, we continue to prioritize spending based on our mission. And then of course, we live within the funds provided by the Grace family. Joel's already told you thank you. I'll echo that. Thank you for your continued giving as we've gone into the pandemic mode here. You guys have been faithful, not only in the regular giving, but also, you know, you have given north of $10,000 into the benevolence fund, which allows us to meet needs that are outside the spending plan. So Rick, go ahead and jump to that other slide with the summary. This is what you should have seen on the e-blast on Thursday. I hope you had time to look at it. Doing this all in just the few minutes that we'll take here. It's kind of like, hey, we want to take a look beforehand. So we're glad we could get that out on Thursday. Hopefully you've had a chance to look. I'm going to go through a few things as we kind of just move through it. Total income this year, the spending plan, we've got $925,616 in there. Thank you, Rick. And that is anywhere from a 5 to 7% increase from the giving that's come in this year and that we anticipate ending this year somewhere between $865,000 and $875,000, depending on what comes in the next couple of months. And we believe that we're going to see growth in income because we believe that as we share the hope of the world, God will build up our church, bring more people in, cause us to grow in our obedience in the area of giving. And so as we do that, as we're faithful, we believe God's going to continue to grow his church. If you're a number nerd, you'll probably look at these numbers and have a couple questions that I'm going to try and kind of head off beforehand. You see on the spending plan and the budget distribution percent right next to that 925, 616, it's only 82.4%. That's because we're comparing it to that total expense number of $1,123,425 down on the bottom. Okay. Those, instead of just assuming we're going to get the entire $1.1 million, which includes the 919 of the essential and then the additional 203,000 in the vision area, we're just kind of working based on what's coming in this year. And then we increase that based on we just made some assumptions about the last 3 years giving. And that's where we came up with the 925, 616. And that's why you don't see the full $1,123,000. As the body gives, we'll dig more into the vision area, but that kind of explains some of those number differences there. We see our salaries running about 47% of the entire spending plan, and that's in line with most churches. So we're in good shape there as far as what we're doing salary dollars. Again, essential is what we're doing existing salaries, and then vision is for raises and additional folks. In the building and grounds category, you'll see a couple things, and I'll just talk to them. Our utility savings we've been getting over the last month and a half while we're in coronavirus mode. I don't expect a year from now that we're going to see the savings that we did this year. So as we made that plan, we planned it based on kind of the way spending occurred last year. And so we expect to get back to that once the entire pandemic thing runs past and through us. Like I mentioned, facility refurbishment, we've got $50,000 of that. 58,000 is for facility refurbishment. And one other thing, you saw a picture there of the roof work that we did as part of that hail damage thing. We got 7 brand new HVAC units for phase 3. So most of our HVAC units are replaced. So we're having minimal risk as far as big issue items like that coming through in our maintenance area. Total church ministry, we're doing some things a little differently this year. There is a new line item that we added. You don't see it here, but with the videos we're doing as we attempt to connect and communicate in a way that's maybe a little more contemporary with younger folks, the way they're used to seeing things, developing the stories of grace. We'll have things that'll come out that are ministry specific videos. So we've created a video line item within church ministry. So we're not looking to create a staffing position for that, but as we develop videos, we will go ahead and fund those at a certain amount so that we can do that kind of stuff and get that there. In the vision area there, we always like to include about $1,000 in other ministry. And if you were going to ask me what other ministry is, I'd say, I don't know yet because the Lord hasn't revealed that. But when things kind of go sideways or the Spirit moves and we get a new vision, we would like to have some funds in place so that we can move forward based on how the Lord's working that way. Of course, we have items for small group ministry, investment in the young adult ministry and youth and children. Those things are all wrapped up in that church ministry line. As well as church-wide events. Joel's already mentioned the Day to Make a Difference, and we're planning on 2 of those in this fiscal year. So we gather together as a church and go serve folks however we do that. A couple times we'll have our trunk or treat, as well as our Easter outreach and Christmas Advent conspiracy stuff that is all part of church ministry and funded that way. As we jump down from ministry to missions, you'll notice one thing, that if you've been at Grace any time, it probably would raise some concerns, and that's in the budget distribution percent. It shows 9.2%. And historically, we've made sure that that's at 10%. Again, that 9.2% is based on the 1,123,000 in giving. Okay, as you look at the dollars, it's $103,600 in missions. And if you take that and compare it against the 926 or 925,616 number, which we're estimating in income, that drives that 9.2% up to 11.2% and is over that 10% threshold that we always try to make sure we're investing outside of our own body based on how the Lord provides for us. We're doing something new this year as far as working on developing some small group outreach stuff that the Bill's working with small group leaders on. So we've put some funds into the mission area because it'll be working on getting small groups doing things outside themselves and impacting our community. We'll be hearing more about that over the next weeks and months, but also did want you to know that our missions budget supports 9 different organizations and 10 different individual missionaries. So combined, that's 19 different missions focuses that we support in that total missions area. Other items that I would just bring out, the mortgage. You know, the elders have requested the finance committee to look into refinance options for our mortgage, which there's a balloon payment coming due on February 10th of 2022. So not in this fiscal year, but the next one. So we want to be planning ahead and maybe taking advantage of our current interest rates. So the finance committee is looking into that. We'll make a recommendation to the board once we get some numbers and things on that and know how we want to head there. And the other piece would be that mortgage thing. If we do something in the middle of the year to refinance, that may tweak this particular area. But for now, we're just maintaining what we've done in this past year in our mortgage line item. You see down there kind of the second, or I guess the third yellow line from the bottom, Total Vision 2020. Again, this year we've got $50,000 in our vision budget that as the Lord provides, we want to make sure that we're planning to spend according to the vision that we have. So we've kept that line item in there just to keep it in front of us and hopefully fresh on our minds as we're going through there. So Rick, I think that's a high level summary of everything. And so I think it's time for you to make that recommendation. And
Let me just take a quick pause here, Blair. If any one of you guys who are participating on the Zoom call have any questions, this is a great time to ask them. I've not seen anything come in yet so far, but if you have any questions about this before we call a vote, now is a great time to just punch those in. I've been watching them, Rick. I've not seen anything come in yet.
Yep, and I have not either. So,
okay.
I tell you what, we will go ahead and I still don't see any coming in. So
yeah, I think we're good.
If I can get a motion and a second to get a vote on this spending plan.
I motion. I give a second.
All right, let's see if this poll works. All right, so everybody should have had a pop-up on their screen to just vote yes or no to vote to approve the spending plan. And we'll give that just a minute to let those responses come in. All right, we got 81% that have voted so far. 83, I'm gonna give it just another minute.
Hey, Rick, did you see that question?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Multiple people in the same house.
Ooh,
So
I did
husband
not
and
see that
wife.
question. I'm I'm not sure how we are going to handle that.
Learning experience voting through Zoom is what
It
this
is.
is. Yes, sir.
It is. I mean, I would say it's an overwhelming, well, let me give this just another minute or so.
Hey, Rick, while you're giving it another minute, for all those, data junkies out there, we will let you know that our utility bill that we got for the last month dropped from $1,800 the previous year down to $700 roughly this year. So we are seeing savings. Again, talked about we won't probably see that again next year, but we're getting some stuff like that. We've done other things to try and save some money as we're working through here. We reduced our trash pickup from 2 times a week to 1 time per week, and our mowing has been reduced to every other week instead of every week, since we don't, I know we're meeting now on a weekly basis, but we've done things like that so that we can continue to be responsible with the funds that you all are providing. So thought you might like to know that, as we're just waiting, giving you some more time to send in your votes.
No worries. Appreciate that, Blair. The only thing I would say that I could recommend is that we can pause if somebody is adamant about wanting to get all of the eligible voters in a household to vote. We could pause right here and give everybody the opportunity to log in from another device and cast their vote that way. If folks want to take advantage of that, if you can just put that in the chat or the question section, and we will pause. Otherwise, we'll give this maybe another minute or so for the chance for those questions to come in, as well as maybe the last few votes to trickle in, and then we'll call it good. And I think that's maybe something for the board members on the call that we take into consideration next year, if we try to do this remotely. So appreciate everybody's patience and grace as we work through this. And David, Randy, did you guys see any questions come in about wanting to pause to
No.
allow time to log in from another device?
No, but Jim did have a good thought. If people want to vote through chat, they can as well, so their vote gets counted. And if you want to vote anonymously, I believe the Q&A button allows you to send notes in anonymously if you want to do that, if you want to vote that way as well.
All right, I'm going to give it 30 more seconds. And Blair, thank you for the detailed description of the spending plan. And thank you, Howard, Joel, the rest of the staff, the ministry leaders that had buy-in into getting that set. Appreciate everybody's effort that goes into putting this together every year. I know it's a lot of work.
So a question did just come in. Can you speak about the government assistance loan, PPP? Did we apply?
Yes, I can speak to that. We did apply. We did not get approved in the first round of funding. We did get approved in the second round of funding, and those funds were received on May 4th. So we've been using those in accordance with making those funds forgivable. If you're not familiar, the Payroll Protection Program is providing funds that once you receive them, you have 8 weeks to spend them. And if you're maintaining your full-time equivalent, your staffing levels from last year to this year, the way I read that, that would mean that 100% of the loan would become forgivable. We've been working with our bank, American National Bank of Texas, who's our local bank, to get that through. And there are some additional things that we'll have to work through with them. But we're now in that 8-week period where we're finding out, how much of the funds that they provided will all go towards the eligible or forgivable items, which would be payroll, mortgage interest, and utilities. Are the things that the law was written to kind of be a stopgap for. So that is kind of how that has worked.
Thank you, Blair. Any other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns about the spending plan? We've got about 91% that have voted so far. It's a pretty much overwhelming vote for approval. But obviously, if there's any other questions anybody has, like Randy or David mentioned, now is the time to ask that. Otherwise, we'll move on here in the next minute or so. And thank you for that question that came in.
Hey, Rick,
Yes, sir.
I would just ask, is there any way that we're going to get to a 50? I mean, all we need for approving the spending plan, according to the Constitution, is a simple majority. So if it looks like we're well over 50%, I might encourage you to go ahead and keep moving through things, and people can continue to submit their votes. But that way we can keep moving through and give you more time for questions at the end after you do the open questions recap.
Nope, that's a very good point. So there's absolutely no reason that we have to close the voting for right now. So we'll move on with the rest of the meeting and circle back on that there towards the end, just in case anybody thinks about a question, is having trouble getting the vote in, whatever it might be. So we'll circle back on that in here in just a minute. And before I get going on all this stuff, I really want to give a huge thanks for the pastors, everybody on staff, the ministry leaders that have been making it happen. Your guys' willingness to be creative and probably get outside of your comfort zone for the past few months. There was a lot that happened before early March, before this lockdown started. Hang on a second, Blair, I'll get you there off the camera. Sorry about that. There was a lot that happened before the lockdown started, but obviously the past few months, you guys have been just awesome and incredible. So really appreciate y'all's efforts there, everything that y'all have been doing. All right, and so now moving on, the elder slate. This is the little image there is kind of what a board meeting has looked like for us lately. For those of you who maybe know on a more personal level, the board members, you see Russ is the only one there that's smiling, and there's nothing we can do to get him to stop smiling. So he just looks that way all meeting, every meeting. So we are not adding any new board members. We don't need to vote on a new slate because there's not anybody new that's joining. I'm going to touch on here in a minute the governance process and the policies that we have put into place the last few months. But the decision was that with kind of the changes and how we're doing things, that onboarding a new elder into this process, there would be a lot of catch-up time. We're kind of feeling this through as we go through it. So it was not too big a deal. We didn't feel a real pressing need to add anybody else. There were a couple conversations that were had with a couple of names that came up, but the decision ultimately was just to not add any new board members at this time. So this is the part where my allergies start to kick in a little bit, because Randy Wickham will be rolling off of the board after 6 years of service. So Randy, I love you like a brother. We're going to miss your voice in that room. Love serving alongside of you, and I know you've been very involved with the online services and sermons that have been going on. So I don't think there's going to be just kicking your feet up and resting and relaxing, but at least you don't have to join a board meeting for the next year or so. We'll see what happens after that. But thank you very much for 6 years of serving on the board in multiple roles.
Thanks, bud.
Thanks, Randy.
Appreciate it.
Governance process. So I'm sure this is the part that everybody is excited about, talking about process and governance and policies and things of that nature. It has been a long and somewhat daunting task going over these 4 policies, but these 4 policies are what we as a board are kind of using as defining how we do what we do from a board level. So everything really points to the ministry ends policy. So I'm gonna glaze over that just real quick, and go to the other three. The elder staff relationship is exactly what it sounds like. Joel is in that unique position of being the senior pastor on staff, but he's also a voting member of the elder board. So that policy goes through what that looks like, right? The board talking to pastoral staff talking to the board, and really that the senior pastor needs to be the conduit for those conversations. The oversight process policy, that's how we function as a board. It's probably the longest policy that we have on there. And then the senior pastor expectations policy. So those are the three, but again, they all point to the ministry ends policy. So with the thought is that the three policies, other than the ministry ends, they can be modified at any time, obviously, but they're not really changing year over year. That ministry ends policy we expect would change year over year. And the next slide that I go into, when we talk about how the annual retreat that the board members and staff go on, and how that leads to open questions, how that leads to ministry ends. That's where we have the expectation that policy may change year over year, but the other three will not. And the comment down at the bottom there, the goal of governance is to free the board to spend more time thinking about the future while empowering the staff to get things done efficiently in the present. We really were walking in that the last few months. When the COVID happened, the COVID-19 or the lockdown happened, Joel and the staff, I'm not going to say that there was not communication going on between the staff and the board, but we as a board were not asking Joel, to run everything by us and let us make that decision, right? The reason why we want to go through this is for a time like this. We want to empower the staff to make those decisions. The staff had the full support of the board. We asked to be informed of what was going on, but certainly we were. I don't want to say that we were not part of that decision-making process, but again, the staff did not have to wait on the board's approval to make a decision the past few months, especially as things were very fluid. Whether we were closed, when we opened, how we opened, things of that nature. We really want to turn that over to the staff. As long as they're making a decision and communicating out to the body, we fully support them. And like I said, just all the accolades and praise for the way you guys have handled things the past few months. So very, very big accomplishment. This has been talked about for maybe 2 years, maybe not quite that long, but a lot of time in meetings, a lot of ad hoc meetings in between the scheduled board meetings to get these pushed through, and very, very glad to get these finalized, approved, and behind us. We just did that a few weeks ago where we finally got past all 4 of them. This is the governance process. So I touched a minute ago on the elder retreat and open questions, and the elder retreat is really right around the corner. So the thought there is that we as a board and the staff will spend a couple of days, a weekend away together and really think about what the next 12 to 24 months of ministry looks like at Grace Church. Spend time in prayer together, spend time just fellowshipping together and kind of getting into the trenches and planning what the Lord has laid on our hearts, what we feel like the Lord has in store for Grace Church. And one of the action items, I don't want to say it's the only action item, but one of the outcomes of that elder retreat or of the elder staff retreat is to develop those open questions. So I know last time we did not get the chance to get those questions in front of everybody, and it's because we were operating in a much more condensed time frame. So last year in 2019, this elder retreat did not happen until somewhere around September, October. We were trying to squeeze these open questions in between October and what ended up being January, February. By that time, that really has very little impact and we can't really pivot what the staff has already been planning from the budget that we just approved. That's not saying that there was no tangible outcome from that, but what we were trying to take a 12-month process and squeeze that into a 9-month process at best, and really more what felt like a 6-month process. So this year we kind of get to walk in this process the way it's supposed to be, and really see the fruit that could come from that. So we're gonna, if you can imagine, this for 2019, we had the retreat. We went through this process of posing the open questions to the body. We took those and developed some ministry ends around that. And I'm going to go over those here in just a minute. And we have put those in front of the staff. And what you're going to see is those ministry ends that we came away with, the staff will start executing on through 2020 and 2021, right? June 1st, 2020 through May. Sorry about that, guys. Through May 2021. And as the staff is executing on that plan, our next elder staff retreat is right around the corner. We're going to do that in June, and we're going to have more time to get these open questions out in front of the body. We're going to have more time to chew on and go through that feedback that we get. And in January of 2021, or maybe December of 2020, we really should have this portion wrapped up where we can get that feedback back in front of the staff. And then if there is anything that we feel like, maybe takes a drastic turn from what we're doing or how we're doing things now, we have adequate time to get that into the budget. So then the staff will take these 4 months to plan and to go up with that spending plan. And then we put that in front of you guys to be voted in May. And then we start the cycle all over again, right? The staff would start executing on that plan while we go back to the drawing board and think about what the next 12 months ahead looks like. So we've kind of tried to come up with a few different visual representations of this process, and we feel like this one works good. This is actually reflected in our OPP document. The oversight process policy has this visual representation in there. And again, that elder staff retreat is right around the corner next month, where we get to walk in this the way it was meant to go for the next 12 months. So we as a board are very excited about that. If you guys recall, at the last shepherding session, we shared this slide. So this was the outcome of the elder staff retreat last year in 2019. We had 3 questions, I'd say we had 3 ministry ends or 3 objectives: become a fully functioning disciple-making church, reach out to our community for Christ, and to have a missional mindset. The 3 questions that we came up with around that are: how can we transform the lives of people as followers of Christ? How should we change to be a church that reaches a changing community? And how can we be better mission-minded individuals? I will say it's one of the highlights of my time on the board is being able to take these 3 questions and partner up with another board member and go visit with a few different life groups and have what kind of, typically for me, and I think the rest of the board members would say the same, there was usually a slow start. There was, a lot of time thinking about these questions, but once those floodgates opened, there was just a lot of fantastic conversation that came out of that. I really enjoyed meeting with the life groups and those groups that I got to be a part of. I never heard anything different from any of the board members and the groups that they met with. And I think there was just a tremendous, just the value of being able to sit down in that manner with the groups is valuable enough as it is, but to solicit the feedback and take a bunch of notes and come back together as a team that we did as a board. I think when I shared this slide with you guys in November at that shepherding session, I was a little anxious and nervous about 8 guys sitting in a room going over pages and pages of notes and how long it would actually take us to come up with talking points for each of these questions. But thankfully, we have some very smart and articulate people like David Kipperos and Russ Edwards that can rein in a conversation and can hear 4 people saying the same thing in different ways and kind of capture that in a way that we can translate back to you guys. So this is what we came up with. So it took 1 meeting. I want to say it took about 3.5 hours of all of us going through our notes and kind of sharing what we heard from each of the groups that we talked to. So ministry end number 1, how do we become a fully functioning disciple-making church? and how can we transform the lives of people as followers of Christ. And one of the key things that we heard almost across the board, from all these groups are those three groupings that we have underneath there. It oftentimes, if not all the time, it starts with relationship, and there needs to be relational equity there, that we grow whenever we are a community of believers, and it's not something that we can do individually and on our own. The second big thing that we heard is it's a foundation in the Word, right? And I think that's a continued learning, even if you are a very mature Christian, or some foundational biblical aspects. If you're a new believer or an early believer, even if you're an adult, if you're new to knowing the Lord, there's some biblical foundations that you need to go over, and that's one of the key things that we heard. And then some intentional mentorship and discipling. And as I go through all of these, just keep in mind, like I said, because of the escalated time frame that we had, or not the escalated, but maybe the condensed time frame that we had to get this done, there wasn't a huge shift in anything that the staff was already planning or going through. But this gives Joel great feedback as to things that he can work into ministry and plans that they already have for the next 12 months, and start to, again, take that open question, take the feedback that we get from you guys as the body, and how that impacts ministry moving forward. So you'll be able to see, each of these in some varying degree throughout ministry at Grace Church for the next 12 months. The ministry in number 2, to be a church with people characterized by a mission mindset. How do we be better mission-minded individuals? The success stories, right? Sharing those stories of success, and sharing those stories of people who step out in faith and get outside of their comfort zone, and it's fruitful and it's successful, and going back to the body and sharing that with, hey, look what I did, you can do that too. We thought that was just a great way, and it's a theme that we heard from multiple groups that we were able to meet with. The service projects, obviously the deal in Salina that Joel talked about before. We were the largest group that turned out there. I think whenever you get a good turnout like that, and that we as a body at Grace Church are impacting, we aren't just going through the motions whenever we're going out and doing things like that, but there's a great impact for those folks that we're helping out there, and it's tangible. It's right there in front of us. So more service projects like that, getting outside of the walls of Grace Church. Joel, I can't remember exactly how you said it, but we're figuring out how to be a church without a church, without the building to meet in. We've been walking in that for the last few months, and then to be a church that impacts our community. So, I was very. I actually thought this would go another way, but the feedback that we heard in the demographic that's around us is we do have a lot of younger families that are in our area, that are within our reach, right? Our immediate reach in Allen and Lucas and McKinney, whenever it is. We do have a lot of those younger families, and some of that may be updating the image of the church. Whether it's paint on the outside, if it's an online presence, that all kind of feeds into the image of Grace Church. So just an overall update of that image there. But that being said, it's not the only need in the community. So meeting with community leaders, whether it be schools, whether it be local boards. I can't think of the word, but Allen City. City of Allen, City of McKinney, City of Lucas, and just understanding what the needs are in the community. So it was fantastic. I'm not just going to read all of these word for word, but again, I was very, very encouraged at just how great the time was for me personally, and for the rest of the board members, to meet with you guys and to be part of these conversations, to hear what drives you, to hear what makes what you're passionate about, and how we can take some of those common themes that we hear from multiple people and pass it over to Joel and the staff to how they do ministry in the coming months ahead. So, and the 3 points off to the right there: develop greater energy around discipleship within Grace, create a culture that encourages individuals to think and act missionally, and create avenues for the church to impact our community. So I'm going to leave this up here for just a minute as I wrap things up, and before we go back to the vote. But again, it was great. It was as fun as it was challenging the last 12 months to go through this process. And I think to a man, the board and staff are excited about the retreat coming up in June, to starting this process all over again. But this time we get to do it with the amount of time that we should have to do this, so that we can meet with most, if not all, of the members at Grace Church, so that we can, get that feedback and pass it over to the staff, where there's actually time. If there's a drastic shift that needs to happen or a decision that needs to be made, we actually have time to get that into the budget and the spending plan. And that way, next May, when we're talking about this, if there is something that's, more of a shift in how we're doing ministry right now, we can actually capture that in the spending plan and get that voted on. So really appreciate those of you who opened up your life groups, especially, and let us in. Appreciate those who took advantage of the online question and answer, I think, that David set up to come up with these open questions. And again, in the next 12 months, after these, or in the next few months, after our staff board retreat next month, we're going to probably start walking in this in July or August, right? But really allow us more time to just have meet with all the life groups, to have open sessions up at church, probably electronically, solicit some feedback to the new questions that we come up with for next year. But really appreciate you guys as a body of grace being part of this process with us, helping fuel what was good conversation at a board level. And I'm excited to see how this looks and how we sprinkle these into ministry the next few months. So Joel, I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to add to that.
No, I think that, you can talk on those points for a long time, but I think that's a great recap of what we've gone through and what you've gathered from the open questions and how we're using it to build ministry for the future. So, we will probably send something like this out to everyone this week, just to refresh, people's memories and connect with those who didn't see this. But we'll try and keep that before the people so that you can see what difference this is making.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited about it. Like I said, it was challenging and fun all at the same time. It was very condensed, and really anxious to see what this looks like when we give it the time to breathe and develop the way that it should. So really excited about what the next year ahead looks like at Grace Church. And that's all I got. I'm going to pause for a minute. I am going to go ahead and end the polling. We had a 46 of 49 that voted yes to approve the spending plan. So we'll say that has officially passed. But I certainly want to stop and pause. And if anybody had any questions about anything that Joel shared, that Blair shared, or anything that I shared, I want to give you guys the chance to ask some questions if you want. David, Randy, are you guys seeing anything in there?
Not yet. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, you can type it into the chat. There's also a Q&A button there. You can feel free to open up a question. You guys have been kind of making some great comments along the way. So appreciate that.
So there was one that was just thrown in here. When do you see us returning to an early service?
Mr.
That
Walters,
might
I
be
will
Joel.
let you handle that one.
Okay, well, I was going to start typing an answer, but I'm just going to talk.
Yeah.
We had originally planned to do one service during the summer at 10 o'clock. That's our summer schedule. We've done that, I think, the last 2 years. And that was going to start the first Sunday in June, one service at 10 o'clock. So we're going to have to sit down and talk a little bit about what that means. Right now, the only thing we're limited, we still have a social distancing requirement that is kind of at least upon us. So we're just kind of working on figuring out, okay, how many people can we get in the building? Right now we can hold everyone who's coming out. We have overflow. We might go to 2 services just for space. I'd love to see it because we have so many people coming back that we've got to go to 2 services to hold them all. But right now, I can't give an answer to when we're going to go back to 2 services. Everything is almost a week by week review that we look at numbers, we look at conditions, things like that. As I said in our last town hall, we're going to send out a communication every Tuesday, which will tell people, what the weekend looks like. And it could be, numbers being what they are or conditions being what they are. We could pop the thing out there and say, hey, next week we're going to 2 services. So it's a week by week thing right now. So that's about the best non-answer I can give.
Thank you, sir.
There was another from Jan and Doug just asking about using name tags. So it might be something to take into consideration when we do get back into getting to church. Points well taken. 3 months off, then wearing masks. Name tags could be pretty helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big proponent of name tags. I've tried different times. I'll just be honest. I would love to have name tags every Sunday. But for one reason or another, when we try them, it flops. People don't want to wear them. People don't pick them up, whatever. If you got some creative ideas of how we can get people to wear name tags, I'm all for it.
Yeah, Chad Laris, we already know your idea. We're not going to do duct tape and Sharpie for everybody. So
Oh, no.
Foreheads.
on the forehead, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. That way you can call people by names. Super idea. We'll keep it on the burner and see how we can implement that.
Hey, Rick.
yes, sir.
Hey, this is Blair, in case anyone doesn't recognize the voice. As it relates to children's ministry, I know sometimes the question becomes, when are we going to start and move from family ministry to children's ministry? I would just share that, Lori's looking at things we can do. And, we have worked to kind of coordinate. Joel's going to be doing his sermon series. And so our kids ministry was going to tie those together. So that everyone in the family's kind of going over the same material on any given Sunday. But, that'll be another decision that we kind of got to make on the fly. And when we're seeing what's going on with the coronavirus and people feeling comfortable about that. I do know normally when we go to summer, usually there's a staffing transition. Sometimes people roll off and we have people serve during the summer who are then off during the school year when the other teachers come back. So if anyone's interested in serving in children's ministry, get with Lori Velasco, and we'll try and coordinate all that stuff. I think she said you got to love God and love children to serve in children's ministry. But other than that, we will take care of training people up. So while I'd like to say we'd like to start children's ministry in June, that kind of was the original plan, but we need to wait and see what the governor says tomorrow, and also figure out based on people being ready to come back too.
Very good. Thank you, Blair. Any other thoughts, questions, comments before we wrap this up and before I give Randy one more task as his last official to do as a member of the board at Grace Church?
I was just going to say, Rick, that one of the cool things about being an elder is you get to kind of see some of the things behind the scenes. And, I've just been really impressed with the diligence that the pastoral staff and leadership team has had during COVID. And it's been amazing to see them pour over what the city recommends, what the governor recommends, what data that they have, and making the best decision week by week. It's been so impressive to see that. And I just wanted to communicate that out to the body, that there's so much crossing of the T's and dotting of the I's that's going on behind the scenes that is really fortifying a lot of these plans. And I'm just thankful for you guys, Joel, Blair, and the rest of the team, T-Box, everyone.
100% agree with that. Y'all's creativity and flexibility the last few months has been nothing short of amazing. All right, I'm gonna turn everybody loose to their Sunday night. Mr. Wickham, you want to pray us out?
Let's pray. Father, we just come to you grateful for, first of all, just grateful for you, grateful for how consistent you are and all the truths that you proclaim to us. We see them in our day-to-day, Lord. So whether it was early churches where we gathered in little homes to what we do now, to what we're doing literally today by doing it online, Lord, you are consistent and you are faithful. We thank you. Thank you that you've given us the ability to be a small part of the greater church here in the Allen Lucas area, Lord. Fathers, we've talked about the things we want to do this year. May it be your plan, not ours. May your will be done, not ours. And may we impact a community that is thirsty and hungry for you. That, as Bill says often, that we can show the only hope in the world, and that's you, Jesus. So, Father, we just ask your blessings over the plans that we have prayed over the last year. Father, we pray over this congregation. We pray over our community. We pray over our state and our nation, Lord. May you be glorified through all that we do. We love you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. Y'all
Take
have a
care.
great night.